Oscar Piastri had a 32-point lead after the Dutch Grand Prix. 32! That's not small. That's not a tight championship fight territory. That's, you should win this if you just don't fumble territory. Since then, Oscar has fallen further and further into a hole that shows absolutely zero signs of climbing out of. And now, thanks to both McLarens getting disqualified, he's suddenly 24 points behind Lando Norris and tied with Max Verstappen. So, what on earth has happened to Oscar Piastri? That's been the biggest question for the past 2 months. Oscar started this season phenomenally, like on a level where Max Verstappen fans were raising their eyebrows like, okay, damn, this kid is cooking. The overtakes on Lewis in Australia and Saudi? Cinema. Peak Piastri. He won 3 races in a row. He genuinely looked like a man entering his final form. For a moment, it actually felt like Oscar was about to rewrite the power structure at McLaren, like Lando Norris was about to become the number 2 driver. And honestly, most people didn't hate that idea, except maybe Lando's fangirls. They were fighting for their lives during those weeks. At that point, many fans, myself included, thought Oscar was just going to run away with this championship. It looked inevitable. And then, the fall-off. 9 races from the finish, Oscar basically decided to go to sleep. Like he just clocked out and hasn't clocked back in since. He's been on the podium once in the last 6 race weekends. Once. This drop-off needs to be studied. Oscar went from ice-cold, championship killer to, where even is this guy? Even Lance Stroll would be like, bro, what is going on? It started snowballing in Baku. First, he crashes in qualifying and ends up P9. Then, he stalls at the start. Then, he crashes again on the opening lap. Like, bro, did Oscar get replaced by a secret twin who's never driven a race car before? Because that weekend was not normal. And after that, things have somehow gotten worse. Crashes in both sprint races. At least he took Lando with him in the US sprint. But above everything, Oscar has just been slow. Like, way off Lando. There has not been a single race since the Dutch Grand Prix where Oscar looked like the same driver from the first half of the season. And it's not the car. McLaren hasn't magically changed their entire philosophy mid-season. So what's gone wrong? Well, Mark Webber is his manager, so maybe he's learned a thing or two about how to throw a championship. The Las Vegas double DSQ ironically actually helped Oscar. If Las Vegas had stayed normal, Oscar would be 30 points behind right now. Instead, he's only 24 down. So yeah, it was technically a good thing for him. But does it actually matter, honestly? That chance people say he has? It's like 1 in a million. Oscar literally said the title fight is out of his hands. That's basically code for, yeah, I'm cooked. And look, I'm not saying Oscar is a bad driver. On his day, he is genuinely one of the best on the grid. His peak pace? Unreal. His racecraft? Clean and decisive. But his biggest weakness is consistency. The guy cannot finish his season strong. This isn't new. He always drops the ball off in the final chunk of the year. Why? No clue. Maybe he gets bored. Maybe the pressure gets to him. Maybe he wants to know what it feels like to fumble like Lando. Oscar has had barely any real bad luck all season. You could kind of say that his DSQ was bad luck, but not really. Meanwhile, Lando has had a technical DNF, gotten taken out by Oscar himself, and was disqualified. Somehow, Oscar is still the one behind in the standings. That alone tells the story. But here's the crazy part. This doesn't mean Oscar's future is doomed. If McLaren stay competitive next year, and if Oscar actually figures out how to stay consistent across a full season, I think he could be a huge title threat in 2026. Honestly, maybe even the favourite. And yes, you heard that correctly. McLaren are getting Mercedes engines again for 2026. And with the new regulations being heavily engine focused, very similar to the era where Mercedes built the Death Star power unit and dominated the whole sport. If Mercedes nails the engine, McLaren instantly become a title fighting team. In that scenario, a title fight could be between Oscar, Lando and George. And if Oscar maintains consistency, I think he beats both of them. His ceiling is insane. On his day, he is a borderline unbeatable driver. But for right now, for the last 2 rounds of this season, Oscar needs to risk it all. He has nothing to lose. Go aggressive in practice, take risks in qualifying, send dive bombs in the race, everything. He's the one chasing now. Playing safe will achieve nothing. Most likely, he'll crash and his title hopes will die instantly. But honestly, that's better than doing nothing and watching Lando cruise to victory. Oscar cannot afford to let his season go down as one of the biggest downfalls in F1 history, because he will think about that for years. He will lose sleep over it, guaranteed. Oscar Piastri literally just got sprint pole. Wow, it's pretty bad for this video, but maybe he's going to make that comeback after all. Does it mean he is back? It could. If he wins this championship, then I view it as redemption. He should win the championship based off of how much bad luck Lando had relative to himself. He needs to make sure he wins the sprint tomorrow and the Grand Prix. Does he deserve the title if he wins it? No, not really. But a title is still a title. For his own mental sanity, he needs to give everything he has in these final races.